Welcome to DG Coffee Chats. I'm Cece, Director of Membership and Engagement at Directors Gathering, coming to you from the unceded land of the Lenape people. It is also known as Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And today I have a very special guest, DG Director Member Noelle Diane Johnson. Noelle is a multidisciplinary theater and performance artist, Actors Equity Association stage manager, director, EDI consultant, and artist advocate. She's worked for multiple venues, including the Wilma Theater, Theater Horizon, Interact Theater Company, Simpatico Theater Company, Theater in the X, yes, Shakespeare in Clark Park, the Bearded Ladies Cabaret, and Playbill, among many others. Noelle is also the owner and founder of Artists Heal LLC, a company designed to center and provide resources for Black and global majority artists while offering self-liberated, inclusive, and equitable spaces for healing and expansion through artistic practice. Noelle, welcome to DG Coffee Chats.
Hey, I'm so thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to have you. How are you feeling?
Good. I'm having a great morning. I am.
Good to hear. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So thank you again for being here with us. Just so folks know, I have a dog and I'm petting his head, not just being like distracted by something silly. But so when DG decided that we would focus our upcoming year of programming on the theme Better Human, Better Director, with the idea that if DG supports directors better developing their skills and mentality toward prioritizing the humanity of themselves and others, then they will be better positioned to be better directors. The person that came to mind for DG Coffee Chats is you. Like that was the first, you're the first person that came to my mind that, oh, Noelle would be perfect for a conversation that falls in line with that theme. As someone who, through personal conversations we've had, I just know values nurturing the spiritual aspects of a person's existence. And I so appreciate you joining us. So what I would love to kick this off with is having you describe your own artistic journey, right? So what you perceive has brought you to this creative moment that you're living right now, and how you see that propelling you forward.
And um, so it all started when I was 4. That's kind of a joke, but not really. Yeah, I was always like really creative, bubbly, fun little girl. Loved to like dance and bounce around and love performance and theater. And I feel like this is actually something that a lot of folks, I'm hearing a lot of folks say this, but like I used to put on shows in my house for my parents and be like, hey, we're gonna have a show at 7 o'clock, be there, be square. Um, and then life kind of took me. I did theater you know, all through my schooling years into high school, did theater. I was one of the theater kids. I went to college for theater, and in college I discovered production and stage management work, and really found a love for that work because it involved me more in the artistic process. So I think I was so aware of, oh, there's a show that's happening, and like there's a rehearsal period before the show, before I would perform for something. But as I got into stage management, I was like, oh, there's even more to this. There's even more preparation. There's even more process. There's even more that goes into creating the art. Um, and I don't think that correlation really came to me until just recently, that's why I was so drawn to that work. But I think that was the reason. And then COVID hit our world and interrupted my plans for my life, in terms of just really like pursuing stage management and being an equity stage manager and doing all of that. And I really, such a blessing in disguise that I was able to explore some of the things that had kind of just dropped off for me. dancing, I've really gotten back into dancing, performing, directing. I'm exploring directing now, which has been amazing. And DG has been so awesome with workshops and constantly having resources, especially for new directors, like new and upcoming directors who didn't study this, who don't really know where they fit in quite yet as a director. So that's been really amazing. All of this work has led to a lot of the equity, diversity, and inclusion work that I do as well. So I remember being in school and someone kind of saying, I went to Temple University, and we would have this class on Fridays where the whole theater department would come together and they would have guests come. And I feel like someone asked the question to the effect of, what are some things that you can do to become a better artist or a better performer or a better theater maker? And I don't remember who this person was. I don't remember why they were there, what their discipline was or anything like that. But I remember their response was, just go live life. Like, just live your life, because your life experience is what's going to inform your artistic practice and your art making. And that's been so true for me, to just go through all of the things that I've been through in my life, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's all brought me to this really amazing place where I feel like I am a really dynamic and thoughtful and intentional art maker.
Segues nicely into your own, because you have named your own your own personal artistic mission. I'd love for you to talk about that process to get there, and what is Warm Weather Noelle?
Mm-hmm. So for me and everything that I do, I always say the ultimate goal is healing. The ultimate goal is reunion within yourself, reunion with oneself. And I think that for me, I am very clear that art, theater, performance, dance, visual art, makeup, fashion, anything artistic that I found myself, engaged with throughout my life, it saved my life. It 100% saved my life. Without those access points artistically and creatively, I don't know. I don't know where I'd really be right now. It's just some of the, life just happens. Everybody has a story. So the ultimate goal in anything that I do is to foster and facilitate healing. Oh, Warm Weather Noelle. You wanted to know. Okay, yeah. So
I love the alliteration, right? It feels, when I hear Warm Weather Noelle, it feels like a hug. And I'm curious about like your process of developing your own artistic statement. How would you?
That's amazing. Thank you so much for saying that, because I created it, honestly. So this is way back. I've always been this person. I've always liked like the hot weather. Like I like for it to be hot. I want my skin to be like burning. I want to be on the beach. Like I love the sunshine. Like that's my thing. So this weather right now is it's difficult for me. But I remember this was maybe, I guess, almost 10 years ago now. I had a really dear friend say to me, Noelle, you're a completely different person in the summer than you are in the winter. Like you are completely different. And I was like, oh, wow. And, she started saying, oh, Warm Weather Noelle's here. You know what I mean? Like when I was, being my authentic self, when I was, not in a state, it was like, oh, well, Warm Weather Noelle is here. Warm Weather Noelle is here. And it kind of just stuck like in my friend circles and something that I kind of just related to. And I love that you said it feels like a hug, or it feels like, comforting, because it's something that I really started to push out, like forward facing during the pandemic, when I was in a place where, you're isolated and you're not artistic. You can't be artistic in the same ways that we were used to being artistic, and being in communion with one another. Being in communion is super important to me, artistically. So I love that it feels that way because, you know, I would love to give you a hug, but I just can't. I just can't right now. There's a quote that says, you know, each person, I'm not gonna say the quote exactly, but it's this idea that each person creates their own weather. You know what I mean? So despite what's going on in your life, you can create your own weather. Despite the fact that there's snow on the ground, and there's been snow on the ground for almost 2 weeks now, I can create my own weather. I can create my own perspective. A shift in perspective, a shift in mindset, a shift in the way that I go about things can make all the difference. And I'm not perfect at it, you know what I mean? And there are times when I get really sad or really dark or, you know, whatever it is, but it's always my intention to exude that light and to exude that, just that freeness and that vitality that comes, particularly with Indigenous cultures when the sun is shining, when, you know, the earth is blooming, when things are alive and, you know, coming back to life. So that's where that comes from.
All right, let's see what I got. I got almond butter, hazelnut cream. DG Jam. Yum.
DG Jam for Black Early Career Directors highlights the skills and artistry of Black theater directors. Join Directors Gathering on Saturday, February 27, 2021 for the Jam sharing.
I would like to move in, maybe talking about your own creative process, because I know that, you know, you recently decided to claim directing, you know, adding that to your repertoire and investigating that aspect of your artistry. So how are you approaching it now, particularly because we're, you know, in a pandemic, and so there are new requirements, I guess you could say, for what it means to create collaboratively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting.
What you're doing on your own too, to get you there. So I'm curious as to what your process has been.
Mm-hmm. So I love devised work. I love it. And when I first started working professionally in Philadelphia, I really sought out a lot of devised work and did a lot of that in terms of stage management and production. And it is I feel like it's one of the best, most dynamic ways to create. Mm-hmm. Once you get past the learning curve of, what do you mean we're starting with nothing? What do you mean there's not a script? What do you mean there's no concrete answers as to what this might end up being? What do you mean there's no playwright? What do you mean we're making it? I feel like once you kind of get through that and you can just trust that the process will work itself out, it is the most freeing, awesome, amazing way to create. And a lot of the devised work that I do, so now it's one of my missions to really decolonize that work, to be able to bring it to Black and majority artist communities. Because I think that the nature of it can feel so intangible, and the nature of it, a lot of the processes are unfortunately based in things that are not relevant to a lot of Black and majority artists, global majority artists. So, but it's an amazing way to create. And I think that folks of color have so much just brimming inside of them. And like that experience of being an artist and like having all of these ideas and having so much brimming inside of you. And you know, I know how to do this and this and this and this, but not knowing how to pull it together, that through that devised process. But I feel like if you're doing it in a white supremacist way, it's difficult to bring that together and have it be effective for the communities that I want to serve. So devised and decolonized, like that's the name of the game for me as a director. And I am so thrilled to be in a space where I'm starting to really grasp the skills necessary to be able to do that work with the communities I'm interested in doing it with.
That's interesting because I think about in a former life, not so much recently, being a teaching artist in a program that the end result of it is a devised work of art that we would develop with high school students. And I don't know that we ever even use the word devising, or if we do, it's like very sparingly, right? Because sometimes it can confuse, or like you put on it whatever you're bringing into this space. And for some of these students, they very have little encounter with theater itself, even as like an audience member. And some of them have been doing theater all their life, involved in theater all their lives. So explaining how we're going to work through this thing is like a bit of a challenge, because we as teachers know what we want to get out of it, and we know where we need to get them. But I do think it is one of the most rewarding experiences I've had, like seeing them develop the pieces that would ultimately make up the final performance that we present, and the ownership that they have over it because it came from them.
The autonomy that it allows folks when they, when they create something and then it becomes something and they realize that they are the one that created it. That I feel like is something that, again, the communities that I want to work with, that is so empowering and so like full, you know what I mean? That is just so, that's exactly what it is. It's like the ownership, finally like going through this process and having it be so murky and not understanding. And then suddenly, boom, oh my God, I made this. It's mine, I made this. And you start to take pride in it. So that's awesome. That's an awesome perspective. And I love that. I teach as well. And I've seen that like with younger children who, that shift that happens when it's like, oh, we're playing games, like we're playing theater games or we're doing little activities. And then suddenly it's like, oh, no, this is a show. Like I'm a performer, I'm an actor now. Like I love that moment. It's amazing.
I love it also when they're like, oh, my people are coming to see this. And I know, like,
listen,
you can't have me look at any kind of way.
Yeah, it can't, right, exactly. When you start to hear them start to say, well, I don't know if I like that so much. I'm like, oh, somebody is coming to see this show. Like you want to make sure that this looks good. And that is so, to see people step into that, to see people go from that kind of confused, I don't know, maybe space to, oh no, this is what I think artistically. Because I think that a lot of times we all are artists, right? And even this thing of, this journey for me, it was simply me saying, I'm a director, because I am a director. Like, I don't need anybody's permission to say that I'm a director. You know what I mean? That sudden, that just claiming who you are, that reclaiming of who you are, that is so necessary and so powerful and so healing for specifically Indigenous communities. Yeah, that's it. That's good stuff.
I've heard you say that healing is derived from a spiritual source, and that there can be obstacles in the way of that. But that this work is meant to help to overcome that, so that you can get to the healing place. So I'd love to hear you talk about the development of the workshops, of this company that is focused on that work.
Yeah, it's been such a journey. So I've gone through a lot of shifting, and I put it out there. I put out there the workshop. I thought I thought the name of my company was going to be different. I thought that it was going to have this different face to it. I thought that the focus of it was going to be different. And I'm just now starting to come out of a really serious like restructuring and like redevelopment phase. I have my own spiritual beliefs that are very strong, and I'm very, that's what that is for me. But I wasn't able to embrace a lot of that and find that until I was able to process some of the traumas that I had been through and heal some of those things to be able to access the healing. So for a long time, I was calling myself a healer. And I think that that is still true, but it's not me healing you. Like making the differentiation of coming into a space that I create or working with me or being in one of my workshops. Noelle is not the person that's healing you. And that's why I've made such a shift in the name of the company and the mission, kind of the mission of the company, to focus more on that, as opposed to like Noelle, because it's not me that's healing you. It's you healing you. And it's you having access to a spiritual power within yourself that heals you. Sometimes the things that we experience, the traumas that we experience, whatever it is that you experience, struggles, whether it be individually, collectively, vicariously, all of the different umbrellas of trauma. Sometimes those things can just be too difficult for you to move on your own. And I have a mentor in my life who really clicked for me when she was speaking to me. This idea that Indigenous cultures are inherently interdependent. And this idea of doing things alone or without community, or this division that kind of happens within some of our communities, is a product of white supremacy. So coming together in that, thinking this idea that you can heal or that you can remove the obstacles or the blockages that prevent you from getting to your healing that lives deep within you by yourself, it's a misconception. Like, it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to need help. It's okay to have someone guide you through this. And that's where I feel like my position is. So the goal is, and a lot of this comes from my stage management work, my work in production. I started to notice that in the rooms that I was a part of, I would maybe be in a room full of people and I would see the people of color struggling to be present in the space or to engage artistically. And, white supremacy might say, oh, well, that person just isn't as excited about the work, or they're just not as joyful to be here, or they just don't care as much. And it's like, no, they have to be a Black person all day long. And, then they've come to rehearsal and there's no space for them to continue to have to carry that Blackness that we carry. Mm-hmm. So wanting to start, on my own as a stage manager, started to really notice this and notice for myself too, that as I started to heal and recover from some of my own traumas, which is a lifelong experience that I will continue to do for the rest of my life, it became easier for me to engage with the work. It became easier for me to be more involved. It became easier for me to start to claim some of the other artistic identities that that are true about myself. So I have a workshop, the Artist Heal Workshop. That's where the name of the company comes from. I just realized, I was like, oh, this is it. This is the whole thing right here. And that workshop is particularly for Black artists. Coming out soon. Keep your eyes peeled. I am in the process of creating another workshop. That's an all-inclusive workshop that talks about prioritization of global majority artists, Black artists, and practices and processes in theater and performance art making. So if you are a Black or global majority artist, please come to this workshop. But also if you are a white ally that works with global majority and Black artists and you're interested in understanding, I wonder why the tools that I'm providing don't seem to work for Black and global majority artists. I would like to do this work with Black and global majority artists, but it doesn't seem to really be, I'm missing something. A lot of times I think that we've been given tools, specifically in white American theater supremacy and performance artist worlds. And those tools can be offered, but sometimes those are not the tools that are going to be effective for Black and global majority artists because of the experiences that we've lived and the things that we've been through. So opening that up and just being really truthful about, you know, what the truth is, what the reality is that white supremacy exists, racism exists. So how do we create spaces that are safe, inclusive, equitable, while we, on the same plane, you know, in a parallel lane, work to deconstruct white supremacy? That's going to take however long it's going to take. But in the meantime, we can heal ourselves, we can heal our communities, we can create spaces that are self-liberating and equitable for folks so that they're not continuing to be harmed while they're still trying to create art, because our voices and our art deserves to be seen and heard. But it can be difficult. It can be difficult to be in those spaces where you want to express or you want to showcase or you want to create something for public consumption, but it's not really designed to hold you or lift you. So I'm still very much in development. I'm working on a business model that definitely focuses on wealth redistribution. So a 3-tier model where, you know, Black and global majority artists can pay a certain amount, white allies can pay a certain amount, nonprofits and corporations will pay a different amount. And through that, hopefully get everyone into an orbit in which wealth can be redistributed and everyone can have access. You know, folks can really start to get access to some really healing and practical tools to really start to shift how we create and what we create. Because how we create inevitably has an effect on what it is that we create. And I think a lot of times folks don't realize it's like, you can tell. You can tell when that rehearsal room was tense, or you can tell when that Black artist, that's the only Black artist on stage, wasn't really supported. You can tell when the costumes are like, you know, designed by someone that's not culturally aware of what's happening. It's not a secret. It shows, you know what I mean? In the same way that if, you know, you're processing some sort of trauma or you have a deep sadness within yourself, like, you're not hiding it. You know what I mean? That you might have your different things or whatever, but it's visible, you know, in the same way that healing is visible.
Have you ever experienced a theater production and later thought to yourself,
Well, that was fabulous, but what about the process? And they couldn't find a single Black director?
what you need is some DG Jam for Black early career directors?
What's that now? Oh! DG Jam for Black early career directors highlights the skills and artistry of Black theater directors and connects them with Black mentors in the field?
Join DG on February 27, 2021 for the sharing.
You bet I will. DG Jam, the process-based program directors love.
I'm loving this conversation, but I want to get to this little game. We're trying it out. We're always in process here at DG, and I'm calling it Know You Better. I don't know, maybe I'll come up with a graphic as a budding video editor, as so many of us have become during.
Listen,
pandemic.
you have to. There's like no choice. It's like, whoa, I never knew I could do this.
So basically, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You don't have to answer if you do not want to, but asking you to answer honestly. You don't have to give the whole backstory to the answer that you provide. It can be one word, it can be a few, but here we go. So first question, who do you most admire?
I'm not a fan of this question. There are so many different people that I admire for so many different reasons. Someone that I'm really kind of focused on right now, though, is Nelson Mandela. because of his capacity for forgiveness and leading this forgiveness movement. This idea, not even this idea, the reality that, you know, this man was in prison for years of his life and found ways to forgive the people. And it's a question that's been coming up a lot in my life. I have some really dear friends who are doing work around this as well. But I think for myself, just recognizing that, you know, when you forgive, forgiveness is for yourself. And I think that a lot of times holding on to unforgiveness or resentment can be one of those obstacles that I speak about to reaching your healing. So it's not easy. It's not like a walk in the park to forgive someone that's, you know, violated you or betrayed you or lied to you or whatever it is. But taking, I'm in a place in my life right now where I'm like, okay, well, what's my part in it? You know, taking responsibility for my part in it. How did I participate in this? How did I volunteer for whatever happened in the situations that's relevant? And seeking forgiveness, seeking that forgiveness for myself so that I can move on and be happy with my life, because I want to choose joy. I want to choose freedom. I want to choose, you know, having a happy life. And you can't hold on to things without, you can't hold on to someone else in unforgiveness without holding yourself down as well.
Mm-hmm. What always makes you laugh?
Oh my God, I love to laugh. Black people are funny. We're the funniest people on earth. Well, I don't know, just joy, like Black joy. It's my like favorite thing and something that I've really embraced during the pandemic. So,
who was your first crush?
Oh my God, I'm blushing. Okay, I was in 7th grade. He was a soccer player. I played soccer for years, but he was like great. He was like, he had just transferred to my school. He was a soccer player. White boy, had his flip going. I was like, oh, that was in 7th grade. And he was so sweet to me, but he broke my heart because we were just friends.
Okay.
That's such a funny question.
What is your superpower?
My sensitivity. Yeah. I think that, and I hated that about myself for such a long time, that I was so sensitive that I would cry at everything, or just so easily cry, or so easily be like in my feelings about something. But that really is my superpower. It is the thing that feeds my intuition, and I'm able to, you know, it's a product of my self-awareness. I'm able, because I'm so sensitive, I'm able to be self-aware of what's going on around me and what's going on in the room. And I think it allows me, I think it gives me the ability to do the work that I want to do.
What do you have coming up next, and how can we engage with it?
Yeah. I've been so on the down low about the work that I'm doing, just because, I don't know, there's like an energy right now, and I feel like I'm kind of like, ugh, I'm not going to tell anyone, you know. But I'm definitely working on Artist Heal. I'm ready to talk about Artist Heal, even though it's not completely concrete or in a place where I'm ready to like launch it. It's definitely something that I want to start to talk about. So that is in heavy development phase, working on like the forward facing part of it, continuing to work on the tools and strategies and methods, and, you know, perfecting my mission statement and all of that stuff. And I think that a lot of that stuff will be available for folks to engage with in the spring.
Okay.
I am currently working as the production stage manager at Theater Horizon for Art Houses, which has been awesome. And it's a devised process with different community members. And I will have the opportunity to co-direct one of those before it's done. So I'm really excited about that opportunity. And some other things that are in the work. Just keep your eyes peeled, I do have, I guess by the time this airs, it'll be published and I'll be able to talk about it. So I also am writing a monthly column for a magazine targeted towards Black communities. It's called Hurt, Heal, Grow magazine. It's targeted towards Black communities and it's about healing. And the column that I'll be writing monthly is about the tie between creativity and spirituality and how we can use those things in conjunction to push along our healing and heal within our communities. So I'm really excited about that as a writer, to really be able to show people that, like, I spend the majority of my time writing. I love to write. And I'm really thrilled about being able to get some of my ideas and concepts out in that way. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And lots more.
I mean, that's fantastic. We are looking forward to that. Thank you for sharing that. We will drop links and direct folks to those things as we can in the description or in the caption. Directors Gathering is truly grateful to have your presence in our community. And I thank you so much for joining us today. If you want to learn more about Noelle and the work that she is doing, you can find the links in the description and the caption. Please take care of yourself and each other. See you next time.